I should have known something was wrong when Anna volunteered to host Thanksgiving this year. In the 6 years she'd been married to my brother James, she'd never shown any interest in family gatherings, let alone hosting one. But there she was, insisting that everyone come to their new house for the holiday. "It'll be perfect," she gushed during our weekly family video call. "I've been taking cooking classes and I want to show off my new skills." James beamed proudly beside her, completely under her spell as usual. I kept my doubts to myself. My brother might be blind to his wife's manipulative nature, but I'd been watching her carefully ever since I caught her in a lie about her successful business 3 years ago. The boutique she claimed to own didn't exist. The wealthy clients she bragged about, all fake. But every time I tried to talk to James about it, he accused me of being jealous of his perfect wife. So here I was, pulling up to their expensive new house, another red flag. Considering James's modest teacher's salary, the driveway was already full of cars. Mom and Dad had arrived early to help with preparations, and our younger sister Emma was there with her husband, Melissa. Anna's voice was sugary sweet as she opened the door. "I'm so glad you could make it." She air-kissed my cheek, her designer perfume overwhelming. "And alone again this year. Still no special someone." I forced a smile. "Just broke up with someone, actually." I did mention that the relationship ended because he turned out to be married to one of Anna's close friends I'd never even met. The house was immaculate, looking more like a stage home than a lived-in space. Family photos covered the walls, all perfectly coordinated in matching frames. But something caught my eye. In every photo, Anna was wearing different expensive designer outfits and jewelry that I knew James couldn't afford. "Wine?" Anna appeared beside me, holding 2 glasses of red. "It's a special vintage I've been saving." I watched her carefully as she handed me a glass. There was something off about her smile, too practiced, too perfect. "Thanks," I said, not taking a sip. The afternoon progressed with Anna playing the perfect hostess, but I noticed she kept glancing at my still full wine glass. When I got up to help Mom in the kitchen, I saw Anna's reflection in the window. She was hovering near my wine glass, and then I saw it, a quick movement, something small and white dropping into my drink. My heart pounded, but years of dealing with Anna had taught me to play it cool. I pretended to be absorbed in conversation with Mom while watching Anna return to her seat, looking satisfied. "Mom," I said casually, "why don't you take my wine? I just remembered I'm on antibiotics." Before anyone could object, I switched my glass with Anna's and handed my mother the untainted wine. Anna's eyes widened slightly, but she couldn't say anything without revealing herself. I watched as Mom took a sip of Anna's wine, while Anna grew increasingly agitated, her perfect hostess mask slipping. 15 minutes later, Mom started feeling dizzy. "I'm not sure what's wrong," she said, holding her head. "The room is spinning." "Maybe you should lie down." Anna jumped up, trying to lead Mom away from the table, but Mom wobbled, grabbing the table for support and knocking over Anna's purse. The contents spilled across the floor, including a small bottle that rolled under my foot. I picked it up, reading the label clearly before Anna could snatch it away. "Sleeping pills. Strong ones." "Don't." Anna lunged for the bottle, but it was too late. James had seen it too. "Anna, why do you have these?" His voice was confused, concerned. "You told me you stopped taking sleeping pills months ago." Anna's perfect composure cracked. She looked between the bottle, my knowing stare, and Mom's increasingly drowsy state. "Call an ambulance," I said firmly, holding up the bottle. "And while we wait, Anna, why don't you tell everyone about the real reason you married James? About the money you've been stealing from his accounts? About your other husband in Seattle?" The color drained from Anna's face. Behind her, James went completely still. "Other husband," he whispered. But before Anna could respond, Mom slumped forward in her chair. The room erupted into chaos. Dad was calling 911. Emma was trying to keep Mom awake, and James was staring at his wife like he was seeing her for the first time. As the ambulance sirens wailed in the distance, I pulled out my phone and opened the private investigator's file I'd been carrying for months. Sometimes I thought, Thanksgiving isn't about what you're grateful for. It's about finally exposing the truth you've been waiting to reveal. And as Anna's perfect world began to crumble, I realized this was just the beginning. The family secret she tried so hard to hide was finally going to come out, and no amount of spiked wine could stop it now. The paramedics burst through the door, and in the chaos, I saw Anna slip something into her pocket. Another bottle? A phone? I couldn't be sure, but I knew one thing. This Thanksgiving was far from over, and the truth about Anna was going to be harder to swallow than any turkey dinner. The emergency room was a stark contrast to Anna's perfectly curated Thanksgiving tableau. Mom lay on a hospital bed, still groggy but stable, while a detective took statements from everyone present. Anna sat alone in the corner, her designer dress wrinkled, her flawless makeup beginning to smudge. "Mrs. Walker," the detective addressed Anna, "can you explain why your prescription sleeping pills were found crushed in a drink?" I don't know how they got there," Anna stammered, trying to maintain her composure. "It must have been an accident." "An accident?" I couldn't stay quiet any longer. Like how it was an accident that $50,000 disappeared from James's inheritance last month. James's head snapped up. "What are you talking about, Melissa?" I pulled out a folder from my bag, the one I'd been compiling for months. "Remember when Grandpa left you that money for your dream of opening a school? The money that mysteriously vanished, and Anna convinced you it must have been a bank error." Anna's perfectly manicured nails dug into her designer handbag. "You don't know what you're talking about." "Actually, I do." I handed James the bank statements. "These show regular transfers from your account to another one in Seattle. An account belonging to Marcus Reynolds. Would you like to tell everyone who that is, Anna, or should I?" The room went deadly quiet. Even the detective stopped writing to watch the scene unfold. He's just my financial advisor," Anna whispered, but her voice trembled. "He's her husband," I announced, pulling out a marriage certificate. "Her still legally married husband of 8 years. The same man she's been funneling money to while playing the perfect wife here." James looked like he'd been punched. "What?" "Oh, it gets better," I continued, warming to my task. "Remember all those business trips she took? They weren't for her non-existent boutique. She was visiting her other family, Marcus and their 5-year-old son." Anna jumped up, one of her designer heels snapping. "You had no right to investigate me." "I had every right after what you did to my friend Claire." The name hung in the air like a thunderclap. Anna's face went from red to white in an instant. "Claire?" Dad asked, confused. "Your college roommate who disappeared." "She didn't disappear," I said, my voice hard. "She found out about Anna's scam 3 years ago. How she targets wealthy families, marries into them, drains their accounts, and moves on. Claire threatened to expose her, and suddenly she had a mental breakdown and moved abroad." "That's not. You can't prove." Anna's perfect facade was cracking completely now. "Actually, I can." I pulled out my final piece of evidence, a USB drive. "Claire wasn't as helpless as you thought. She kept records. Records she mailed to me before her breakdown. Records that show exactly how you've done this before, in 3 other states, under 3 other names." The detective was definitely interested now, speaking quietly into his radio. James stood up, his hands shaking. "All this time, the woman I loved was a lie." "Not all of it," Anna pleaded, reaching for him. "James, please." But James stepped back, looking at his wedding ring like it was poisonous. "Did you ever love me at all?" Anna's silence was answer enough. "There's more," I said quietly, watching Anna's face. "Tell them about the insurance policy, Anna. The one you took out on James 6 months ago." And that's when Anna broke. She lunged for her bag, but the detective was faster. Inside, they found not just more sleeping pills, but documents, lots of them. Insurance policies, fake IDs, banking information. "The sleeping pills tonight," I explained, "were just the beginning. She's done this before. Get them drowsy, confused, then a tragic accident happens. The grieving widow collects and disappears." Mom, still groggy but aware enough to understand, began to cry softly. Dad held her hand, looking completely shell-shocked. "Anna Walker," the detective said, pulling out handcuffs, "you're under arrest for attempted poisoning and fraud. We'll also be investigating your connection to several other cases." As they led Anna away, her perfect mask finally shattered. "You'll regret this," she hissed at me. "You have no idea what I'm capable of." "Actually," I replied calmly, "I do. That's why I made sure everyone knew the truth before you could finish your plan." James sat heavily in a hospital chair, staring at his hands. 6 years, he whispered. 6 years of my life. A lie. I sat beside him, putting my arm around his shoulders. Not a complete lie. You showed her what real love looks like. She just wasn't capable of returning it. As the night wore on and Mom was cleared to go home, I couldn't help but think about Claire. Maybe now, with Anna in custody, we'd finally find out what really happened to my friend. But watching my brother's devastated face, I knew this wasn't over. Anna's last words weren't just an empty threat. Women like her always have backup plans, other schemes, hidden allies. And as I drove home that night, I couldn't shake the feeling that exposing Anna's secrets was just the beginning of a much darker story. Because in her designer bag, beneath all those documents, I'd glimpsed something else. A photo of my family, taken long before Anna ever came into our lives. The real question wasn't how long she'd been planning this. It was, who helped her choose us in the first place? The week after Thanksgiving passed in a blur of police interviews and family revelations. James moved back home with Mom and Dad, a shell of his former self. But it was the photo I'd seen in Anna's bag that kept me up at night. A photo taken 5 years before she ever accidentally met my brother at that coffee shop. I was at my kitchen table surrounded by Claire's old files when my phone buzzed. An unknown number. Hello? Melissa. The voice was familiar but different, stripped of its fake sweetness. Anna, I'm allowed one phone call from jail. Guess who I chose? My hand tightened on the phone. What do you want? To warn you. You think you're so clever, exposing my secret, but you only scratched the surface. Ask yourself, how did I know about James's inheritance before he did? My blood ran cold. Grandpa had only told James about the money on his deathbed. Or why your perfect boyfriend turned out to be married to my friend. She laughed softly. You're not the only one who's been watching, Melissa. We chose your family years ago. Look closer at that photo you saw. Notice anything about the woman in the background? The one who looks so much like your mother. The line went dead. Hands shaking, I pulled out the photo I'd managed to snap with my phone. It was our family at Dad's 50th birthday party, 5 years ago. And there, almost hidden in the background, was a woman who could have been Mom's twin, talking to. My heart stopped. She was talking to Claire. Everything clicked into horrible focus. Claire's disappearance wasn't because she discovered Anna's secret. She disappeared because she helped create it. My phone buzzed again. A text from an unknown number. Check your email. Claire wanted you to have this, eventually. The email contained a video file. Claire's face filled my screen, looking nothing like the friend I remembered. Melissa, if you're watching this, Anna finally slipped up. We knew she would. She always gets sloppy when she gets greedy. But she was just the bait. The perfect, pretty distraction while we got what we really wanted. My phone started pinging with bank alerts. Accounts being drained. Not just mine, Mom's, Dad's, James's remaining accounts. Your father's company, the one he built from nothing. Check who really owns it now. Your mother's family estate. Already sold. While you were all focused on Anna's little performance, the real work was happening behind the scenes. Years of planning, positioning, waiting. I was already calling Dad, but his phone was disconnected. Mom's too. James' number had been changed. Racing to my parents' house, I found it dark. A sold sign stood in the yard. Through the window, I saw the rooms were empty. My phone buzzed one final time. A message from Claire. Family secrets work both ways, Melissa. Your father stole everything from my family 20 years ago. Now we've taken it back. Anna was just the key that unlocked the door. Tell James sorry about the wife, but he was always just collateral damage. I sank to my knees on the front lawn, the truth crashing down. We'd been so focused on Anna's deception, we never saw the bigger plot. She wasn't the mastermind. She was just another player in a much longer game. Somewhere, Claire was probably laughing. She'd gotten her revenge, using Anna's greed and my own determination to expose her as the perfect tools. My phone lit up one last time, a photo. My family, looking shell-shocked, sitting in what looked like a motel room. Below it, a message from Anna. See, I told you you'd regret it. But don't worry, I'll take good care of them. After all, that's what family's for. I stared at my phone, at the ruins of everything I thought I knew. In trying to protect my family from one secret, I'd unleashed something much worse. And somewhere out there, Anna and Claire were watching it all fall apart, exactly as they planned. Sometimes the truth doesn't set you free. Sometimes it just shows you how trapped you really are. But as I got back in my car, I realized they'd made one crucial mistake. They taught me how to play their game. And now I had nothing left to lose. The real question wasn't how they'd done it. The question was, what would I do to get my family back? But that's another story entirely.